Hello folks. Okay, so I have a lot to cover in today's topic on all things weight training. So I'm going to try to fly through it as quickly as possible so you're not set looking at my little face for too long. So let's get cracking. So what are the benefits of weight training? Get strong, lift your own damn groceries, increase confidence, enhances mood and reduces stress. This is proven. Aids fat loss by burning more calories. So the more muscle mass that your body has, the faster rate that your body burns calories. Lowers your risk of injury by increasing bone strength and muscle. Improves body composition. So for anyone out there who wants to look toned, in order to lose weight, yes, you need to be in a calorie deficit. In order to look toned, that is literally spending time building muscle to then reveal it. So you can get skinny by being in a calorie deficit. You will look toned by pairing that with resistance training. So therefore you have muscle to show off, because that's essentially what toning is. Improves heart health, greater mobility and flexibility, and a better damn quality of life. Again, scientifically proven. So how many days per week should you weight train? This is something that comes up quite a lot. And honestly, the answer is whatever suits your lifestyle, whatever you are able for. One thing I always say, it is the quality of a session over the quantity of a session. Ideally, you want to be looking for like at a minimum of 3 weight sessions a week, no more than 5. What days should I train? So this is entirely, again, up to you. What suits your lifestyle, your schedule, whether you have kids, if you have to drop them off, what hours you work. So what days you train is entirely up to you. There's no right or wrong. The one thing I will always say is at the beginning of the week, like on a Sunday, plan what days you're going to train for that week. It's going to help make sure that you get your sessions in so much easier. But never more than 3 in a row. So if you're only training 3 days a week, I absolutely do not recommend smashing them out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You want to have at least one rest day in between there, and no more. If you're training 5 days a week, you definitely want to be having a rest day after the 3. If you're training 5 days a week, no Monday to Fridays, having Saturdays, Sundays off. You want to make sure you have one rest day at least in between, so that you're giving your body a chance to recover, so you can come back pushing so much harder in the next session. If you are banging out session after session in a row, the quality of your sessions is going to go to shit, because your body is going to be so tired, so fatigued, so then the quality of your sessions is going to lack. Stretching and warm-ups. This is very important. It is something I get asked all the time, like what stretches should I be doing? And honestly, the best ways, yes, you should be doing your stretches, you should be doing your cool downs, foam rolling is going to be brilliant. But essentially, if you're doing a half an hour worth of friggin' banded glute activation exercises, they're going to be a load of shit. The best way to warm up is to do warm-up sets of the main compound lifts you're about to go into. Your compound lifts are always going to be your first and second exercises. So by doing warm-up sets of those exercises, so you're actually warming your body and the muscles up in the movements they are about to perform. Warm-up sets are not working sets. So if you have 3 sets of squats in there, your first 1 to 2 warm-up sets do not count as 2 of 3 of your sessions or of your sets. Warm-up sets, and then you get into your working set, which is what the ones that you are going to track in the app. How heavy should I be lifting? So I am going to do a full video on this, because this is something I could talk about all day, and it's something I get asked quite a lot. But just for some quick little tips here, your first and last rep should never look the same. So when it comes to your last 1 to 3 reps, you really want to be making sure that you are pushing them out. You should be feeling a little bit more fatigued to know that you are working at the right rate. You're going to use the RPE scale, which I've posted, and again, I will do another full video on this. But your form is always going to come before weight, so ensuring that your form is good. Leave your ego at the door. If it's a case if you're like, oh, it looks good if I add on more weight, but if you're not working the correct muscles, that's an absolute waste of your time. And use the rep ranges given. So again, I'm going to do a full video on this, but this is why rep ranges will generally always be given by me in 8 to 10, 10 to 12. So you want to use those rep ranges to progressively overload. So if you're hitting 20 kgs for 10 reps, aiming to increase that till you're getting to the 12. Once you're hitting that comfortably, reducing the reps, increasing the weight, and then aiming to just repeat that cycle. Training terminology, this is in the training welcome pack, so do have a little look at it, but I'm going to talk through some of the most common ones. Tempo. So this is how fast you do each part of the exercises. So with an exercise, there's 4 parts. There is the stretch, the pause, the shorten range, and the pause again. So this is literally in terms of a squat. We have your 4 parts. So we have your stretch, which is when you descend. We have your pause, which is when you hit the bottom. We have the shorten, which is when you come back up. And we have your pause, which is at the top. So an example of a rep range you may see here, it is something that I will kind of program more for like people who are a little bit more advanced. For beginners, I don't tend to program tempo ranges because I just don't want you to feel overwhelmed. But here's an example of how one could look. So you will see it on your app if there is tempo ranges given. 2, 1, 1, 1. So it's going to be 2 seconds on the way down, a 1 second pause at the bottom, 1 second, so you're coming straight back up, and a second pause at the top, taking a breath, going again. Another example could be 3, 1, 3, 1. So this is 3 seconds on the way down, so you're really slowing down the eccentric. You're going to have 1 second pause at the bottom, 3 seconds on the way up, so you're nice and slow coming back up, 1 second pause at the top. 3, 2, 1, 1, sorry, so 3 seconds down, nice and slow on the way down, a 2 second pause at the bottom, you can see here he is biting his lip, 1 second on the way up, so just coming straight back up, and a 1 second pause at the top. So these will always be how they are given. So you just want to think about, short on the way down, pause at the bottom, on the way back up, pause at the top. Drop sets. So drop set is completing one set, reducing the weight and going straight back in to complete more reps. So we'll use the example here of like a lateral raise. So if I have drop sets in, it's going to be, if you're lifting 10 kgs, right? So 10 kgs, doing your whatever reps are given, dropping the weight, we'll say you're hitting in for 7 kgs, dropping the weight and going straight back in again for the given reps. That is one set. Supersets then are when you perform 2 exercises back to back with little to no rest. So if there is a rest in between, I will tell you, generally there is not. So we'll say an example of this could be shoulder press. So you're going to go shoulder press, complete your reps into supersets. A superset with lateral raises. So you may have shoulder press, you're going to have your weights there beside you for your lateral raises, complete your shoulder presses, jump straight up, grab that straight into your lateral raises. That is one set. AMRAP stands for as many reps as possible. So if this is ever programmed for you, that's literally what it is. So you are going for as many as you can, baby. Progressive overload. So progressive overload is what is essential in order to build muscle. But there are so many different ways to progressive overload. It is not just all about increasing the weight. Other ways you can do so is increasing the reps. So if it is a case that, you kind of feel you're stuck on a weight for a while, hitting that for 10, you want to start increasing that and trying to be hitting it for 12. Once you're comfortably doing that, most likely the muscle and the strength will have built that you can increase the weight, reduce the reps and go again. Another way is to improve your technique, so making sure that your technique is really good, improve your mind to muscle connections, so making sure that you're really working, maybe slowing down the tempo and really focusing on the muscles that you want to work. I did this morning, for example, when I had to reduce the weights in something I was lifting, but I just made sure I really slowed down the tempo so I was still progressing the muscles that I was working. Rep ranges. So these are what you will see in your programs. So just in examples, 4 to 6. So generally the lower the reps, the heavier the weight is going to be. So that's why you'll see here, this is for like muscle building. So generally if I am lifting, I can lift a lot heavier for lower reps than I can for higher. So hypertrophy phase then would be like 8 to 10, 10 to 12. Once you're hitting kind of like 12 to 15, 20 plus, generally you are going to be reducing the weights lifted. So if you are trying to lift, if you are able to lift the same weight for 15 reps as you are for 8 reps, your 8 reps needs to be heavier. So essentially that is training for volume and fatigue. So a lot of the time it's going to be like a finisher, we'll say, at the end of a session, or if we're trying to like really burn out the muscles. Descending rep range is something a lot of you will see quite often, which will say the likes of like 12, 10, 8, 6. So this is when like the weight increases as the reps decrease. Another thing I'm quite a fan of there is you might see like 10, 8, 6, 10. So, as the weights decrease, as the reps decrease, the weight increases. And then your last set is going to be the same weight as you lifted for the first. So again, it's kind of coming back to adding more fatigue to the muscles. This is something you don't really need to understand why I do it. But just so you know, if you ever see, that changes in rep ranges, why they are. Deloads is something that not every single person needs a deload. To be completely honest with you, a lot of people out there do not train hard enough to need deloads, but there are a lot of you guys that do, and it's something I implement quite often. So a deload is reducing the level and intensity of the level of intensity and the volume of your workouts for 1 week, generally reducing the weights you're lifting by 50 to 75%. So you are still going in, getting the body moving, but just reducing the weights so that if you think about it, if you're training really, really hard, right, and you're doing it week after week after week, there's only so long you can keep that up before something has to give. So generally, I will program deloads at the end of one program, at the beginning of the next. So you kind of have that week to get used to movement patterns, but you're reducing the weights so that we're still getting the body moving. But just essentially giving you that break. And a lot of the time it's harder mentally than it is physically, because you kind of go in and you're like, oh, I'm here now, I may as well push. But it's really important during a deload to not, and most likely come the end of that week, you be gunning for the next session. Just a few things to note here. Sweat is not a sign of a good workout. For anyone who is, coming from like an F45 background or, any of those kind of like HIIT classes, it can seem very strange when you're like, I'm not sweating. Why has she got larger like rest periods? That's another thing. Your rest periods are really friggin' important. If you feel you do not need the rest periods given, you're not pushing hard enough. But sweat is not a sign of a good workout. DOMS also, which is delayed onset muscle soreness, which is generally that pain that you get. They say the day after, I argue the day after is always worse. Also, not a sign of a good workout. So, if you're kind of like, oh God, I'm not sore, I mustn't be working hard enough, it's not a sign of a good workout. It is generally just a sign of new movement patterns. So for a lot of people, you may not get sore for ages, and then next thing a new program comes, I hit you with a new program, you're doing different muscles or working in a different way, and then all of a sudden it's like, fuck, I'm sore. So yes, not a sign of a good workout. So just some little take homes here. The quality of a session is more important than the quantity. Rest days are essential for recovery and growth. Progressive overload is absolute key. Regardless of if you're increasing those weights, increasing those reps, this is key to building muscle. Form will always come over load. If there's ever anything you're unsure of, I highly, highly, highly recommend you record yourself, send them on to me. One last thing here I really want you to focus on is put more focus into the number on the barbell or the number on the dumbbell than the number on the scales, and I promise you your results will come. But yes, any questions, drop them below, and sorry this was not as short as I planned.